Hello everyone, so for today's card I'm using this elf stamp from the Alleyway Stamps Toyland stamp set, and I stamped him onto CC Designs 110-pound Copic quality cardstock with my Memento Tuxedo Black ink, and I purposely went with the heavier weight this time because I plan on popping him onto the card front with dimensionals, and heavier weight cardstock just is a little bit stiffer so it doesn't bow or bend as easily, and it just, I don't know, I just like to look a bit better when I'm doing something like that. So I'm kind of doing something similar to my last card in that I'm not blending out the color really heavily like I usually do, like really blended and all that kind of stuff. Just learning to leave the lines a little bit more for more dimension, and I'm kind of liking the look of it. So I did the same as last time. I did the E50, E21, R20 for the skin, and just the cheeks I blended out a bit because they just look kind of silly otherwise. And then for his hat, I did YG 21, 23, and 25. And I blended it a little bit just because there's kind of a larger difference between the 21 and the 23. So I did the same thing with his little neck area of his suit. And then the rest of it I colored in with my R24, and then just adding the R27. And I could have left that as is, but then I added just a little bit of R29, and it just kind of gave it that just extra little bit of depth. And yeah, really simple when you're not having to go and do a whole lot of blending. So I gave him little striped stockings with the reds and the greens, and then I took another series of greens for his belt and shoes, and that's G14 for my first green. So got that in there, and then added G05 for a little bit of the shading, and then finally G07 to finish it off. And then for his little belt buckle, I'm just using C1, and that's all there is to it. So really quick and simple and super fun. So once I've done that, the pattern paper I decided to go with is the Doodlebug Home for the Holidays, which I'd shown in my first card, and I am also using some Doodlebug cardstock. And then I grabbed my go-to My Favorite Things Pierce Dynamics, the circles and the new ovals, for my card, and I chose the smallest oval from the set for my sentiment, and I die cut it first just because I'm using that one die is a solid die so you can't see through it. So I die cut it first, and then I'm just inking up the stamp and using my stamp positioner so I can get it right in the right spot, because this is a rubber stamp, not a clear one, and it's from the CC Designs Funny Christmas set. I was just like flipping through all my stamps, and there were some sentiments in that set that would work perfectly with the little elf image, so that was perfect. So yeah, I used my stamp positioner, and I just used a tiny bit of adhesive on the back of that oval to hold it into place, because otherwise it would have been permanently adhered to my craft mat. And then I used one of the larger ovals with some of the green Doodlebug cardstock. And I didn't have an exact layout in mind, I just had kind of a rough idea with like circles and ovals and that kind of thing. So I just kind of played around and die cut one of the pattern papers from the pack, and I'd originally planned on using some washi tape. I didn't know what I was doing, but I ended up not using any washi tape. I just used pattern paper and cardstock circles, and then I popped up my little main image there, added all the dimensionals to them. So once I got those in place, that's when I decided, oh, I wanted to add a little something more, so I decided to add some baker's twine that I had, that I got last year. This is in Christmassy colors, red, white, and green, which is super cute. And I wanted to wrap it around, but I wanted to hold it in place. So I just used my craft mat to have so I could mark equal spaces on each side. I normally use a pencil for this, but I couldn't find my pencil, so I just used a pen. But to mark where I wanted the notches. And then I just used my crocodile, but any like hole punch would work, just to like punch out a really small little notch on the card front to hold the baker's twine, which I've shown this in a video before. I just done it portrait way, so how you just cut through the spine so that you can hold the baker's twine in place. But yeah, very simple. And then of course now I can pop my little guy onto the card front with the dimensionals so he sticks up. And then I did the same thing with the sentiment, just put a few dimensionals on the back of that so that's popped up as well. And then of course I had to add a little bit of embellishment, so I just took the Doodlebug Christmas Assortment jewels. I just added a few random ones here and there, and that's all there was to it for the card front. So then on the inside of the card, I die cut some more pattern paper circle and a couple ones from the Doodlebug cardstock, and kind of figured out how I wanted those to go, because I didn't want to cover the whole inside because obviously you need space to write something. And then I grabbed the little elf image again and I inked him up with some bright green ink. This is an old Stampin' Up! Spot that was retired, like green galore from like 10 years ago. Still got ink in it though. So yeah, stamp the elf on the corner, and then I'm going to ink up another sentiment from the Funny Christmas stamp set. And again, using my stamp positioner just to make sure I get it straight, because I wanted to stamp it over the little elf at the bottom there. So got my stamp positioner going so I know where it's going to go. And I'm just inking that up, and I used my VersaFine Onyx Black ink for the sentiments. That's my go-to black ink for that. And then finally figured out where I wanted to put the circles and get those adhered into place. So once I've got that figured out and leaving enough space to write something, that's all there was to it. So then I'll end up flipping this over and trimming it off with scissors, which I totally did out of camera, so sorry about that. But yeah, that's all there was to it. So as always, there will be a link below to my blog post with links to all the supplies used. Thank you guys so much for watching, and make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!